G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza and this is the Let's Draw live series where you guys send me your suggestions on Twitch and the Twitch chat vote on the outcome. Now the winning vote for today's Let's Draw drawing is Korra from The Last Airbender as requested by Antonio N. I've never really watched the series, I'm sorry for those who are fans who are going to hate on me for this, so I'm going to keep it fairly simple. I'm going to use a few visual references from Google just to make sure I'm getting the features and everything right. And I'm just going to do a bit of a portrait shot, so just of the head and shoulders and up to the top of the chest. I begin with my very basic construction lines, starting off with the circle for the cranium of the head, adding a small jaw, and then starting to really very gently outline the features of the face and hair and head and things like that. Slowly I'm refining the silhouette and adding detail until the forms and shapes that I'm putting together to make this picture of Korra become much more solid and aesthetically pleasing. Now that I have the outline and silhouette and the basics of the drawing in a place where I'm fairly happy with it, I can then move on to doing some line work. With an illustration like this, one of the key things to keep in mind is that less is more. Keep your lines clean and simple and elegant, keep them feminine, and we're also going for a style. So Korra and The Last Airbender series has a visual style that I'm going to be sort of following using these visual references I have them open in Google Images, just to try and get the aesthetic of my image to fit in the world that they have. So, you know, it'll be different, it'll be slightly jazzified, but, you know, might hopefully look right. So as I mentioned, keeping your lines as simple as possible, I'm using a 0.1 fine liner, which makes everything very fine. So I'm making it look as crisp as possible. And then in the end, once you've done the line work, you can go ahead and erase your construction lines that were done in pencil, and then you're ready to do some coloring. Now that I've got my image to a place where I'm happy with it and it's ready for color, I'm going to do a bit of experimenting with color first. What you don't want to do, especially when you're using things like Copic markers, is just jump straight in and add color and then find you've used the wrong color. You can usually try and fix problems if you're using like pencils or things like that, especially if you're using digital art, but when you're using markers and paper, the stakes feel a lot higher. So I like to start off. Hey, we have a dancing monkey! Philbrush joined the VIP. Thank you, Philbrush, for joining the VIP. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what it looks like when someone in the Twitch chat subscribes to Live with Jazza on Twitch. You get a dancing monkey. Super cool. First of all, I'm going to play around with the skin tones, get a base tone, then mess with a mid-tone. Now I'm confident in my skin tones, so I've got these and I'll put those aside to use in the illustration. Where things are going to get a bit tricky though is with the hair, because she has a bit of a dark desaturated brown, and I actually only have two rich browns. One is called leather and one is called walnut. And both of them aren't very dark, and both of them are a little more saturated than her hair is. So what I'm going to experiment with is using neutral greys as a base. So if I lay down the N5 neutral grey and then add the N7 neutral grey, and that'll be the dark tone, I'm going to see what it looks like when I lay my walnut or my leather over top of that. And I'm going to see if that sort of gets the look that I'm going for. And I tend to feel like the light walnut with the neutral greys is going to work. So I'll put those aside and I'll put the leather away. So I'll be using that for her hair, and then finally we have her jacket. So I'm going to experiment with a few colors for her jacket. I think that's a good sort of base tone. And then I can use the C6 on top of that to add the shadows. I think that works quite well because it doesn't oversaturate it by using another blue. So now I think I've got my basic palette ready to go. The skin tones I'm using are colors that I use for almost all of my skin tones. They're extremely useful, and those colors are the E11 Barley Beige, the E13 Light Suntan for the mid-tone, and then the E57 Light Walnut for some of the shadowed areas. The hair is being done in a base of greys, with N5 neutral grey being the base tone, and then N7 neutral grey adding some darker areas. And then I'm going to go back to my N5 and blend things in to get a bit of a gradient effect before the very end, where I just go over the whole thing in my light walnut E57. The main greyish blue of her coat is going to be done in the B45 smoky blue, and then I'm going to be adding shadowed area with C6 and then even C8 on the armband where it has a desaturated but very dark sort of greyish blue. Now, while the piece may look basically finished, there are two little things I like to do at the very end to really add a crisp finishing touch to the whole piece. And one is to go around the whole thing in a slightly thicker fine liner just around the silhouette. And I do this to kind of add a stronger edge and also fix up some of the areas where I go slightly over the edge. And then the second thing is I take my white marker and I go through and erase some of the areas where I went over the edge and also add some highlights to things like the eye or things that are a bit shiny. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that is my finished piece of Korra from The Last Airbender. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to the Twitch chat for voting and making this possible. And this was, of course, requested by Antonio N. Sign, and we're done. Thank you again for watching. Make sure to join future Twitch streams by clicking the link on the screen and in the description, where you can make your requests known and perhaps have your suggestion drawn by me and signed and dedicated to you in a Let's Draw video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the finished result. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you later.